2018 and 2019 were pretty quiet years for one of my favorite development studios, Guerrilla Games. After the release of Horizon Zero Dawn and the Frozen Wilds expansion in 2017, there was not much news coming out of the studio. We did hear about a board game though in 2018 by Steam-forged Games that would launch in 2020. I already shared some pictures from Guerrilla on my Instagram, it looks very cool. I backed it as well, and back then I already thought, 2020 as a release date, that is interesting. And now that we are in 2020, you can really see that it's laying the groundwork for something way bigger. Something that Guerrilla Games has been quietly preparing for the last 2 years. The return of my favorite new IP of the last decade. In this video I want to go over everything that is pointing in Aloy's direction and why it's very likely that Guerrilla Games will reveal what they've been working on this year, because there are many things accompanying the sequel that we can already extract some information out of. It's pretty interesting stuff, so let's get into it. A like on the video would of course be super appreciated. And let's go.
It's been a long journey getting here, but today, on behalf of everyone at Guerrilla Games, I am delighted to finally unveil our newest franchise.
Horizon Zero Dawn always seemed to be intended as the first game of a bigger franchise, and after the more than 10 million copies sold, it would be stupid to not follow it up with a new game. And it actually spawned way more than that. We now have Funkos, plushies, and this totally not scary Aloy toy, but we will also get a comic book now on May 2nd, 2020. And this will actually be a lead-in story to a new Horizon Zero Dawn ongoing comic series, so this should be the first of multiple entries. And it seems to be following Talana, the Sun Hawk of the Hunter's Lodge, and you might remember her. She put trust in Aloy while other members of the Hunter's Lodge did not want an outsider there. And after doing a ton of tasks for her, you could go to one of the coolest side missions in the game where you had to defeat the Red Maw, like a beefed up Thunderjaw that only had one disc launcher that we could use against it instead of two. And there's actually a trophy for this mission as well, so if you have the platinum, then you did this quest. We see how the Red Maw brutally defeats Ashish, and then you and Talana go up against this machine instead, and in the end you of course defeat it, and then Talana becomes the leader of the Hunter's Lodge, aka the Sun Hawk. So this comic takes place after those events. And if we go back to the description, it says that Talana struggles to find purpose after Aloy, her trusted friend, disappears. And Talana can actually help you during the final battle of Horizon Zero Dawn as well. You can talk with her, chat with her for one last time, and then go into the fight. So then Aloy and Talana are still together, so a very high chance that this comic takes place after those events, so after the ending. And after the final battle we see multiple cutscenes, and in one we see Aloy look for Elizabeth Sobek, and then she finds her at a ranch. We don't know how much time has passed since that final battle, but it's not a location that we could go to ourselves in the game, for as far as I know at least. People did try and find the location with the flying mount glitch, as we see in footage from Tom Roswag, but this seems to be more an educated guess and not really something we were supposed to find out, as you see right here. So yes, could be that this is where Aloy has gone in this comic, or maybe she went after Silence. We of course see him at the end of the game as well, in an area that I don't think we've explored yet. He of course captured Hades and is now walking up to a Metal Devil, a horse machine that can create other machines. So if we go back to the description of the comic once again, we read that Talana is all alone, and then when a mysterious new threat emerges in the wilds, she returns to her roots as a hunter to defeat it, only to learn that a whole new breed of mechanized killers stalks the land. So that could totally be the work of Silence, although I'm of course totally open for your input as well. We see Talana and Aloy on the cover of this comic running away from a Thunderjaw, but I think that that is only the beginning of the comic. Like, I can see them hunt a Thunderjaw at the beginning to set the tone of the story, and then Aloy might be like, hey, I gotta go, search for something, and then Talana is all alone while this new threat emerges. I would imagine that they are new machines, but we will have to wait and see. The comic releases on Comic Book Day on May 2nd as a free edition likely to get people interested in the story that will then continue in other issues that I think we have to buy. But if this one will already like look at one of the new machines that we can expect or maybe tease them, then I would think that we get an announcement of this new game by May 2020 already, right? Would be weird if we saw a new machine for the first time in a comic and not in a trailer for the new game. Maybe we learn more about the behavior of the machines by reading the story. I can see that happen and that would be very cool. But yeah, overall this seems to be a prologue to the new game, or maybe a way to get insight into the world, like what happened after the events of the ending and what is happening in the map of the original game, while Aloy is maybe going to a new area, maybe the Forbidden West that was already teased in Horizon Zero Dawn. I did some videos on this after the release because in the main game we namely had Bryn, who seemed to predict a future that will catch man and machine. Maybe he was referring to the ending of Horizon Zero Dawn, and then he said that he will flee to the Forbidden West and that Aloy should meet him there. And then also when you look for him after you finished his side mission, then it's noted that he left to another location, like he's not in his house anymore. I really hope that we can meet this weird machine blood drinking Banu guy in the sequel. That would be pretty cool, and of course a nice Easter egg as well. The Forbidden West is a very intriguing location, and it would be weird if we could not explore it in the sequel because it gets teased a lot. We can also namely find a book in the original that warns people to not venture into this land, and this has been written by a healer who saw the effect that this area has had on people that did go there. They were mortally wounded or driven witless by what they had experienced in the lands beyond the Daunt. Sounds like some high-end dangerous zone to me, and there should still be like remains of many old war machines that roam that land, or maybe some new ones made by Silence. Either way, I think it's clear that this comic will be some sort of tie-in with the new game or tease what we can expect. And it would be weird if they like release that comic without a word on the sequel. 2020 at Guerrilla is going to be a bit on the crazy side. Game director Simon LaRouche already confirmed on Twitter. Like they're moving into a new building, something that was actually supposed to happen at the beginning of 2019 as noted in a Dutch news article on the Parool.nl. So that's of course a huge thing for them. They get way more space in that new building. And Simon is also teasing in that tweet the next game dev mega step for Guerrilla. So teasing major things for 2020. We saw Horizon Zero Dawn being added to PlayStation Now, the PlayStation streaming service. It will be there till April 7th, 2020. Could just be a promotion, but of course it also makes sense to get this game in the hands of more people that did not experience it yet. This also means that through PlayStation Now, you can now play it on the PC, but it seems to be that the game is coming to PC natively as well, and this report comes from Kotaku's Jason Schreier, so then it's very likely true. And before this, Russian YouTuber Anton already reported on a similar thing, and he said that it would actually release in February. So maybe that turns out to be true as well. And I've said it before when discussing Anton's rumor, but I think it's a great move to bring this 3-year-old game to more people so that they are then more hyped for the next game as well and might end up buying a PlayStation 5 just to play that. Because bringing the original Horizon to the PC doesn't mean that Horizon 2 will also be coming to the PC. At least not for the first years, I would imagine. Now Sony's main goal is still to sell the next gen system, sell the PlayStation 5, and maybe they will sell more of that if PC players enjoy the game and want to play the sequel immediately. And that's why I think that Sony bringing Horizon to the PC goes hand in hand with the sequel announcement, and it also goes on top of the comic, on top of the board game, the PlayStation Now announcement. So maybe we see a God of War on PC and Spider-Man on PC as well when Sony is close to revealing the sequel as a PlayStation 5 exclusive. But yeah, Horizon is up next, and maybe we already get an announcement in February. There are still many rumblings that is indeed the month that Sony will reveal the PlayStation 5. We for example have a Patrick Klepik during the latest Vice Gaming podcast saying the following.
Probably both next month will be both presumably the Xbox and PlayStation events will not be too far behind one another, would be my guess. So that'll probably both happen next month. I haven't heard much about what Microsoft's going to do, so maybe they'll be quiet till E3, but a lot of Sony stuff next month for sure.
Totally. And we'll be paying attention. We'll check in on that stuff.
He did walk it back a little bit though on Reset Era, but he sounded pretty confident on the podcast, so don't know why he would say it on the podcast like if it was supposed to happen and then walk it back on the forum. Either way, whenever this new event is, I will of course keep an eye out, keep you up to date here. But yeah, I think we can both agree that an Horizon 2 announcement during a PS5 event would make too much sense. I will at least wear my Horizon shirt that day like I did with the State of Play for Ghost of Tsushima as well. I wore a Ghost of Tsushima shirt and bam, we got a trailer for that game. So it seems to help. Now, it's not if, but of course, when do we get to see Horizon Forbidden West, or whatever it will be called. The bigger question is, will it be a launch game for the PlayStation 5 or not? And I can really see both sides. Like, Sony needs a big AAA launch game because it would be great versus Halo Infinite. That will be a launch game for the Xbox Series X. But on the other hand, Sony is making deals with games like Godfall and has Bluepoint as well with their potential Demon's Souls remake. So those, alongside some third-party next-gen games, could be enough for the launch. And then you can have Horizon 2 in the infamous Second Son window that we saw for PS4, so March next year. That way you also give Guerrilla all the time they need to finish this big open world game, because it doesn't have to launch in the fall of 2020. Early 2021 will of course also be a way less crowded period, and by that time there will be millions of PS5s out in the wild. I'm curious to hear your take in the comments down below. Will Horizon 2 be a launch game or early 2021 or like spring 2021? Your take is welcome in the comments down below. Subscribe for everything Horizon 2, and with everything I really mean like everything. When that game is announced or even the PC version is announced, I'll be all over it, and I totally look forward to replaying the game on the PC with a better frame rate. It should actually give us an idea of how a PS5 version of Horizon 2 should run, right? If you, by the way, want to support the channel in an extra way, then there is an option. Then you also get big Sunday videos like this, early and ad-free on Friday already. You can join by hitting the join button next to the subscribe button. Just an extra way to support the channel for if you want. You can check out my previous video on some PS5 details by clicking on the screen. And I will speak to you next time. For now, goodbye!